Hey everyone, welcome to Meeple Vids. Thanks for joining me today. Carcassonne, the world-famous French city, known for its imposing fortifications erected during the Antiquity and Middle Ages. This fortress, surrounded by magnificent walls, still stands today as one of the most unique French cities. Here, you must develop the area around Carcassonne and place your followers into cities, monasteries, and roads. Only those who make the most judicious placements will gain the points required to win and be victorious. Carcassonne, a game designed by Klaus-Jürgen Reddy, published by Z-Man Games for 2 to 5 players, with a playtime of 30 to 45 minutes. So join me as we go through this quick setup and playthrough of the game Carcassonne. Footnote, in this game, I'm only going to go through the base game itself, no expansions, and even though this does include the abbots and the rivers, I will not be addressing that in this video. So stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back to a 3-player setup of the game Carcassonne. Before we begin, let's address the components and the pieces so we know what we're working with. There are a set of meeples totaling 8 of each color that you're going to want to give to each player. There is tiles, and there is going to be also a separate tile, as you'll notice a little bit different in the back from the rest. It's a little bit darker, which is your starting tile, which we'll place out here like so, and a player board or a scoreboard so that you can keep score as you go through the game. And that's it. If you're just coming across this video, if you fast forwarded through the intro, keep in mind that as we go through this game, we will not be using the abbots that were included. There's an abbot, a little bit different from the meeples. We're not going to use the abbots or the other cards that have the dark backs, which are the river cards. So in this one, we're just going to do castles, roads, and monasteries. So castle, roads, monasteries. That's all we're going to address in this video. So in this 3-player setup, all players take their set of meeples, totaling 8, and putting 1 onto the scoreboard, leaving them with 7 in their hand. So the game is played until all tiles have been placed out onto the game, into the play area, and then the final score, the person with the most points, wins. So there's a final scoring round at the end, where then the last person is, or the winner is then declared. So how the turn order goes is you, on your turn, can draw up from any pile. It doesn't even need to be from the top of any of these stacks. I just sort of stacked them up like this, but you could have them spread out in a play area. But you draw 1 tile, and then you have to place it in any configuration that fits with an available tile that's already out there. So fields can touch fields, but this road may not dead end into a field, as an example. Let me actually zoom in a bit on this one. There we go. But this castle can be placed on a castle like so, or like so. Again, this cannot go here because a road has to connect to a road in some capacity. So how scoring then takes place is, once you're starting to connect things together, is you are scored on the connecting roads, you're scored for having people inside of castles, and then you score monasteries, which look like this. And monasteries are scored by having surrounding tiles. Obviously this is a bad example, but monasteries get scored when all their tiles get placed around. So during the game, when you place a tile, you then have the option to then place a meeple. You can either set that meeple, if this tile were placed, inside the castle, and that's it. If there were, say, a road on this card, so this is the starting tile, but let's pretend for a moment that this is what we pulled out here. I could put myself inside the castle or on the road. And those are my 2 valid locations. Or if I pulled out a monastery, I could put myself in the monastery. The scoring would work is, for a monastery, I would get 1 point for every surrounding tile of the monastery, and when there's 9 surrounding the monastery, I then score the monastery, or 8 surrounding, I score the monastery and pull my meeple back. For a road, when a road gets completed, you get 1 point for every leg of the road. For castles, you get 2 points for every tile that a castle is in, plus 2 points for any castles that you're in that has this shield icon. So let's just pretend this were a complete castle. This would be 2, 4, 6, 8 points for that castle. Let's pretend this were the road and I was on it. This would be 1, 2 points for the road. And that's it. That's kind of how this gets set up and played. Let me remove some tiles from the game. There we go. So game plays, and you're going to draw a tile and put a meeple on it. If you have no meeples left, then you cannot place a meeple, and you cannot pull a meeple back from a location where they're already set. The only way you get a meeple back from the play area that you've set is when it gets completed. So if you're kind of stretching out for large castles, I need that one. So if you're stretching out for large castles or something like that, then it's possible that it may never get finished. In addition, one other rule: if I were on this road and this tile were pulled up, the next person could not come onto that road with me. I already own that road. The same with a castle. If I'm in this castle and this player goes to set the tile here, well, they could not put themselves in that castle. But you could build into it. So let's just pull out some extra cards here. There we go. This is a decent example. So this castle is not touching or not connected in any way yet. So I could put myself in here, thus allowing myself to close it off like this. Or if it were a much larger castle, let's see, do I have any larger castles? No. There we go. So if it were a much larger castle like this, there we go, then the next player has the opportunity to then sort of build into it. I'd have to find the right tile for that one, which I'd have to dig through it. But you guys get the idea. And that's it. That's how you set up and get ready to play the tile drafting, I guess, worker placement, if you will, game Carcassonne. So let's dive in and let's see what some drafting and some turns would look like. Zooming back out. There we go. Player board in view. So I guess I'll be red this turn. So first player, second player, third player, and I'll go ahead and just draft this one. There we go. Draft this card, and actually, you know what? I'm going to score myself some quick points. So I'm going to come here into this castle, put my meeple into that castle. I'm going to score 2 4 victory points, and then immediately get my meeple right back. Okay, not a bad start. It doesn't really, it's a decent strategy whereby, I got a quick 4 points, but it's a very tiny castle. Player 2, all right, a 4-way road. They're going to go ahead and connect it, let's say right about there, and then they are going to go onto this road here, thus having 2 legs already. Player 3. Okay, this has to touch a field. Nah, that doesn't look like a very good placement. This is probably about the only placement I can achieve, because if I go like this, then this would be very hard to close off. So I'm going to go like this, and then put myself into this, what might be a pretty large castle. I have to zoom out that way a little bit. Looks like I'm building up that way. Player 1 again, just draws this tile. Okay, interesting. That sort of helps him. That connects this road, which isn't bad, so put myself here. Now, these little farms and towns do close off roads, so Black Meeple is on this road that way, so that leaves the road open still for me to take it down in this path. So right now that's a 1, 2, 3 point road, so not bad. Player 2, they're going to draw up, and they get a road, and that kind of helps them, so they're going to kind of make a road to nowhere. And then player 3, draw up from here. Okay. Let's see here. No, so this can't go here because this road can't just go into nowhere. Can't do it like that because the road, again, can't go into nowhere. But they could go like this to start closing off that castle, which probably not a bad idea. And then back to player 1. So as you see, guys, the gameplay goes pretty quickly. So player 1, all right, I could continue my road like this if I wanted to score some additional points in that direction, or I could again take a quick 4 points, which I think I will do. Put my meeple here, 1, 2, 3, 4 points, and then get my person right back. All right, and then we'll do player 2. Ooh, wow, large castle and field there. Not too many places really to put it. No. Actually, there's only just, these spots down here for me. So I guess I'll put it right here and put myself into that castle. And then player 3. They drew up yet another road. Now that would help red player. So let's go ahead and, you know what? Actually, I kind of want to build into that road so as red player can't capitalize on it completely. So as you see here, guys, zoom back in, the blue player now has been given the opportunity to build into red player's road. So whenever this road gets completed or whatever here, unless it's with a card like, let's see here, I need a straight road. Ah, here we go. So if this were the one drawn, then it backfires on blue, because then they could just slide it in there, and that's 1, 2, 3 points for blue and 1, 2, 3 points for red. Or if it were a straight road, oh man, where are all my straight roads? There we go. Or if it were like this, and let's say blue player did this as their turn, then red and blue would get equal points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points for this road. So they both get points, as opposed to them just getting a lesser amount. So that's how it would work when you manage to build into someone else's sort of zone or area. So anyway, guys, that's the setup, taking turns, and a brief playthrough of the game Carcassonne. As I mentioned, I did not address the abbots, and I did not address the rivers in this demo. But very quickly, here's a what's called a monastery. So let's say there were a monastery right here. Now let's go ahead and nope, can't do that. There we go. That's an okay placement. Let's see if I can't. Actually, no, this is a better placement for that one. Just to show you guys how a monastery would get scored. So let's say black player were on that monastery. Okay, I need a road. There we go. Almost. There we go. Perfect. So now this monastery finally gets closed when this tile gets laid, because now the monastery is completely surrounded. Black player gets their meeple back, and they score 9 points for that monastery. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. Stay tuned while I break down the table and give you guys my afterthoughts. Thanks so much. Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that quick setup and playthrough of the game Carcassonne. As a reminder, if you're coming across this video as part of my just quick review and afterthoughts, bear in mind that when I'm reviewing this and going through it, it was based around the base game of Carcassonne only, not the included Rivers and Abbots mini expansion that came with this print. So with that said, dive right in. Starting with the components of this one. This game was actually originally printed in 2000, so I don't have much comparison to go on for the 2000 print, as I got this one way later. But it's such a classic game that by now, if either you've been in the hobby, you probably already own it, or if you're just starting out, definitely add this one. I'm not going to add a whole lot into this that hasn't already been said, probably by, a few dozen people already. But I'll dive in all the same. Components. Really good, really strong, really solid. The tiles are really good, thick cardboard stock, which I appreciate. The player board, however, I think could be, or the scoreboard could be a little bit nicer. And I found that over the years that I've had this one, it's kind of become a little bit warped. So that hasn't stood the test of time, but the player tile, or the tiles have. So there's that one. The meeple, standard wood, straightforward meeples. It's your classic one. And when people think about meeples, this is probably the game that they're thinking of when they think of it. Components, I guess the box insert, even on the base game, leaves a little bit to be desired. I like more organization. If you get any additional expansions beyond what's included in this, then you're going to have to go get a bigger box and keep them separate. Or I know that there's another reprint out there for Carcassonne, the big box, which includes, I think, 3 or 4 of their expansions, which is pretty cool. But the base insert that's in this one, guys, passable, you know. It fits the components well enough, but nothing special or great about it. Why should you add this one to your collection? Because it is a classic. It's, you know, really good. It's so streamlined, simple to learn, simple to teach, simple to play, because you're placing a tile, putting down a meeple. Now, there are some nuances in there which can get a little bit tricky, like when you're building into things, you know, and what's a valid build in and valid placement, etc. But overall, I think after one playthrough, you know, it's easy to pick up and get. So definitely pick it up if you yourself are just getting into the hobby, or you want to introduce someone else into the hobby. So much like my video last week where I reviewed Pandemic, this is just another game that's sort of a staple entry-level type game that is just, you know, so well known and widespread that you know, it's really easy for people to get into. Same thing with the other themes. You know, the theme of this one does work, but the type of game that it is leaves it wide open for a various number of themes. One player at our game night, he actually recently got the Carcassonne Star Wars edition, which I thought was fucking awesome. So you can take the core elements of this game and skin it in any which way. And I'm sure there's a subreddit for it. I'll just have to do a little bit of investigation and check it out. Reasons why you may not want to add this one into your collection. You know, I guess it can get old fast, and that's an interesting gripe about such a classic game. But because it is so simple, you know, there's really only so many ways to play, and then you're forced into either getting expansions which don't fit in the box, which frustrates me as a gamer. And then there's a lot of expansions to the game. So you may not want to add it into your collection if you're the type that only has a few games and you get those individual games to the table. Because I'll tell you what, as much as I do enjoy Carcassonne, when I reach for the shelf, it's not going to be the first one that I grab, however great and classic it may be. So if you only own, you know, less than a dozen games and you're looking to add Carcassonne and you play your games over and over and again, this one might get stale quick. So warning, caveat, whatever. So anyway, guys, those are my thoughts and impression of this really tried and true classic style game, Carcassonne. You know, I'm sure most of you already own it. If you're just coming across this video and you don't, go pick it up. You know, again, it's probably 20 bucks or less. I think I got this one from Cool Stuff Inc. for $15. So usually on some type of fire sale because it is just an old classic style game. So guys, if you have any questions, any comments, you know, leave them down below. Happy to answer them. If you like the content and you happened on this video, you know, feel free to leave a quick subscribe. Definitely appreciate the support for everything that I'm doing over here. But until next time, everyone, thanks for watching.